The town of Moscow, Idaho, was the kind of place people trusted. Quiet streets, college parties, late-night food trucks, students laughing under streetlights at 2 in the morning like nothing bad could ever happen there. Parents sent their children to the University of Idaho because Moscow felt safe. It was the kind of town where people forgot to lock doors. The kind of place where strangers still waved at each other in parking lots. But on November 13th, 2022, something entered a house on King Road, and by sunrise, 4 students were dead. No forced entry. No murder weapon recovered. No immediate suspect, only blood, silence, and one surviving roommate who said she saw a masked man walking calmly through the darkness before disappearing into the night. America became obsessed with the case almost immediately, because what happened inside that house did not feel random. It felt studied, planned, cold, and when investigators finally identified a suspect, people became even more disturbed because the man accused of the murders was studying criminology. He had spent years analyzing criminal behavior, and according to investigators, he may have used that knowledge during the killings. This is the story of the Idaho murders, the fear that consumed a town, the investigation that captured the country, and the man accused of turning academic fascination into real violence. The house sat on a hill above the neighborhood, address 1122 King Road. 3 stories, large windows, string lights, cars parked outside almost every night. It was known as a party house. People drifted in and out constantly. Friends visited without knocking. Music echoed through the rooms late into the night. The kitchen was always cluttered with food containers, cups, and backpacks. To outsiders, it looked chaotic. To the students who lived there, it felt alive. Inside the house lived Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Zana Kernodle, and Zana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. 2 other roommates also lived there and survived the night. Photos from social media showed smiling faces, football games, parties, friendships, ordinary moments frozen forever in time. Nothing about that night suggested these would become some of the most recognized victims in modern true crime history. November 12th began normally. The University of Idaho campus was alive with weekend energy football games, house parties, drinking, music. Kaylee and Madison spent part of the night downtown before stopping at a late-night food truck. Surveillance footage captured them laughing together while waiting for food. Zana and Ethan attended a nearby party. At around 1:45 a.m. to 2 a.m., everyone slowly returned home. Inside the King Road house, lights turned off room by room. Phones stopped moving. Voices faded. The neighborhood became quiet, or at least quiet enough, because sometime after 4 a.m., someone entered the house. Investigators believe the killer came through the sliding glass door at the back. Dark clothing, mask partially covering the face, moving silently through rooms filled with sleeping people. What happened next unfolded in minutes, but those minutes would haunt America for years. One of the surviving roommates later told investigators she woke several times during the attacks. At first, she thought she heard normal activity upstairs. Footsteps, movement, possibly someone playing with the dog. Then things changed. He heard crying, then a male voice saying something like, "It's okay. I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17 a.m., a nearby security camera picked up distorted sounds, voices, a whimper, and a loud thud. Then silence again. The roommate opened her door one final time, and standing there was a man dressed in black. She later described bushy eyebrows, a mask covering his mouth and nose, and eyes that seemed emotionless. The figure walked calmly past her toward the sliding door. He did not run. He did not speak. He simply disappeared into darkness. The roommate stood frozen in shock. Then the house became silent again. That detail would become one of the most terrifying aspects of the entire case, because people kept asking, why did the killer leave witnesses alive? Morning arrived slowly. Hours passed before 911 was called. Friends had reportedly been summoned to the house before police arrived. Initial confusion spread through the scene. Dispatch records described an unconscious person, but when officers entered the bedrooms, they discovered something horrifying: 4 students dead, multiple victims, an extraordinarily violent scene. Even experienced investigators were shaken. The killings appeared personal, frenzied, overwhelmingly brutal. Yet there were no signs of forced entry. The killer had come and gone without waking the entire neighborhood. The murders shattered the illusion of safety in Moscow. Students began sleeping in groups. Parents drove through the night to take children home. Gun stores reportedly saw increased sales. Campus life changed almost overnight. At first, police told the public there was no ongoing threat. Then they reversed course. Now the killer was still out there. Nobody knew who had done it, why it happened, or whether it would happen again. And as fear spread through the town, the internet exploded. TikTok detectives appeared within hours. Reddit threads accused innocent people. YouTube channels analyzed body language frame by frame. Online theories spiraled out of control. Every person connected to the victims became a target of speculation. Friends, ex-boyfriends, roommates, neighbors, professors. People searched social media for hidden clues. Videos from the victims' accounts were dissected endlessly. Internet users convinced themselves they could solve the murders before police. The obsession became dangerous. Some innocent people reportedly received threats. Families were harassed. Rumors spread faster than facts. Meanwhile, real investigators worked quietly behind the scenes, and they kept returning to one object. Left near one of the victims, a tan leather knife sheath. At first, it seemed insignificant. Then, forensic testing revealed male DNA on the button snap. That single mistake changed everything. Investigators began searching through surveillance footage from across the city. Then they noticed something unusual: a white Hyundai Elantra repeatedly driving near the King Road house during the hours before the murders. The vehicle circled the neighborhood multiple times, then disappeared, then reappeared after the killings. Police issued a public request for information about white Hyundai Elantras from model years 2011, 2016. Thousands of tips flooded in. Then one detail caught investigators' attention. White Hyundai Elantra registered to a criminology PhD student at Washington State University. His name, Bryan Kohberger. Bryan Kohberger did not fit the image many people expected. He was not a drifter, not an escaped convict, not someone already known for violence. He was educated, quiet, studying criminology. Former classmates later described him as socially awkward and intense. Some remembered uncomfortable interactions. Others described him as intelligent but emotionally distant. He had reportedly studied forensic psychology and criminal behavior. That detail disturbed the public more than anything else, because investigators believed the murders may have been planned carefully, and Kohberger allegedly understood how criminal investigations worked. As investigators focused on Kohberger, they began building a timeline. Phone records allegedly showed his device near the victim's neighborhood multiple times before the murders. Late-night drives, repeated visits, patterns. Then, during the estimated time frame of the killings, his phone suddenly stopped reporting data. Hours later, it became active again. Investigators believed this was intentional, a temporary disappearance, an attempt to avoid digital tracking. But even careful people make mistakes, and according to prosecutors, Bryan Kohberger made one fatal mistake. He left DNA behind. Police did not arrest him immediately. Instead, they watched, quietly. In December 2022, Kohberger drove across the country to Pennsylvania with his father. FBI teams reportedly tracked the vehicle during the trip. Investigators monitored movements, watched the family home, studied garbage disposal patterns. At one point, agents reportedly recovered trash from outside the residence. DNA from the trash was compared to the DNA recovered from the knife sheath. The statistical match was devastating. Investigators believed they finally had their suspect. December 30th, 2022. Bryan Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. America woke up to the headline, and suddenly the mystery had a face. But even after the arrest, something still disturbed people. No confirmed motive, no public confession, no manifesto, no clear explanation for why these 4 students were targeted. Investigators believed the attack may have been planned, possibly obsessive, possibly stalking-related. But many questions remained unanswered. Did he know the victims personally? Why that house? Why leave surviving roommates alive? Why commit such violence and then calmly walk away? The uncertainty became psychologically terrifying because random violence creates a different kind of fear. It suggests there is no logic, no warning, no safe pattern, just a person quietly moving through darkness. Years passed. Court hearings, evidence disputes, national media coverage. The case remained one of the most closely watched true crime stories in America. Then came the plea. Bryan Kohberger pleaded guilty to the murders. The agreement spared him the death penalty. Instead, 4 consecutive life sentences without parole. For some families, the plea brought relief. For others, it brought frustration because a trial might have revealed more, a motive, planning, psychological insight, answers, and now many of those answers may never come. Eventually, the King Road house was demolished. Machines tore through walls that once held laughter, music, friendships, and unimaginable violence. Some believed destroying the house was necessary. Others believed it erased evidence of what happened there. But even after the structure disappeared, the story did not, because certain crimes leave behind something larger than buildings. They leave fear, they leave questions, they leave shadows. The Idaho murders became more than a criminal case. They became a cultural obsession, a symbol of modern fear, of hidden violence, of the terrifying idea that someone can quietly study human behavior while secretly descending into darkness themselves. The evidence explained many things. The timeline, the car, the DNA, the movements, but it never fully explained why, and for many people, that remains the most disturbing part, because sometimes the scariest crimes are not the ones with impossible mysteries. They are the ones where the facts are real, and the motive still feels empty. The town of Moscow still remembers the silence that followed that night, and somewhere in the memories of the surviving roommate, there is still the image of a masked stranger walking calmly through darkness before disappearing forever into the cold Idaho morning.
Did the story send chills down your spine? And from which city are you tuning in tonight? Let's meet in the comments. If you enjoyed this dark tale, you can support me with a super thanks so I can keep uncovering more gripping true crime stories for you. Thank you so much for your support. It helps me bring even more suspenseful narratives to life. I'm looking forward to your thoughts on this mystery. There's a lot more waiting for you on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next chilling story with intrigue and respect.